Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to a redstone video on my channel. 8 farms that you need for a survival world in Minecraft 1.17. So farms are a really easy way to get a whole load of basic items relatively quickly. One of the most basic items you'll need is food and crops. This little contraption here can be used to either farm wheat, potatoes or carrots. Now how it works is we've got 3 dispensers around just one block of farmland. Now they will dispense bone meal at a very fast rate due to this observer clock here. And all you have to do is stand right in front of it and plant it yourself. I'll put myself into survival mode. Now there's a slight difference depending what you're going to plant here. I'm going to start off with wheat and turn it on. Now to do the wheat version you have to have this campfire here. That raises you up to the perfect level to be able to break the wheat only when it is at its fully grown state. So the way to operate this farm is to hold right click at the very top of the obsidian, as I'm doing now, and then after that hold left click. And as you can see, you'll eventually get into this rhythm, eventually into this rhythm where you're growing wheat perfectly every time. It takes a little bit of practice, but there we go. You can see I'm getting a new wheat every single time there. Now this does change for carrots and potatoes because they grow slightly smaller. They don't grow up as high. So what you have to do is just remove that campfire and it works exactly the same. You can see here, just holding right click and then hold left click. And they'll slowly grow up into all the food you could ever need. Next up, and one of the noisier farms on this list, is the cooked chicken farm. Now this is quite a famous design that I've actually used on my survival series on Project Survive. You might have seen it recently. What it needs is a load of chickens in the top. They drop their eggs into these hoppers, where they get dispensed out into this chamber at the front. As that happens, a small blade of lava comes out and cooks all adult chickens and no baby chickens. As you can see, that produces a lot of feathers and a lot of cooked chicken. Perfect food source for any starter base in any survival world. Again, it's relatively simple. There's a lot of variations to this design, but this is one that I've chosen because it's always reliable to make sure that lava comes out and gets pulled back in at exactly the right time. The key thing to note here is this repeater set to 3 ticks. These are the items you'll need. And again, this will be available in the world download for you to go and check out. The next design is one of the smallest and probably the simplest of the whole set. It's a honey and honeycomb farm. Now what you're going to need to do is find yourself one of these beehives somewhere in the world and either silk touch it with a campfire underneath to take it home with you, or set this up where the beehive already is so you don't have to worry about those pesky bees stinging you. How this works is the bees come out of their hive, pollinate on the flower and return in and fill up the hive with honey. As that hive fills up, the comparator reads that and gives a stronger and stronger signal strength until it's finally strong enough to set off this dispenser. Now that dispenser can either have bottles in it, in which case you'll get honey bottles underneath, as I've got it, or you can set it up with shears, so you can get a whole load of honeycomb. This is all the stuff you'll need, in this case bottles. If you want to get the honeycomb, then you'll need the shears instead. So the next farm is quite self-explanatory. It's a cactus farm, useful for getting all those green dyes, or for being able to smelt it in an XP farm. Now, this one works in quite a simple process. As this cactus grows, it grows next to this fence, at which point it breaks itself automatically and drops in the water and is collected in the hoppers. I'll see if we can see this. There you go. One cactus popped off, hit the fence and broke, and flowed all the way down into the hopper. There's another. All the stuff you'll need for this design, you can see here. Quite simple, quite simple to build. It will be in the world download, but you should be able to just build it from this. The next few designs are quite similar. What we've got here is either a bamboo or a sugarcane farm. It's an identical design for both. And what happens is as either the bamboo or the sugarcane grows up to height in front of this observer, it sends a redstone signal all the way along the back, powering all the pistons and breaking the bamboo and the sugarcane. Let's have a look at that happen now. Just like that. Now you can see that some of the bamboo and some of the sugarcane is left on the sand here. This is probably a good time to point out that while these aren't the most efficient designs, they are all relatively easy to build in a survival world with minimal resources. For this design, these are the items you'll need. The kelp farm I've got here works in a very similar way to the bamboo or to the sugarcane farm. You can see we've got a row of kelp growing underwater, and as the kelp grows up to height, it goes in front of the observer, which detects that change, sends a redstone signal through all of these pistons, and they break the kelp. Then they all flow over the top and down to be collected. Now this is very, very similar to the last. These are the items you'll need. I should point out now that while I've got a lot of glass here, that can be changed for any block you like. I've really only got glass here so that we can see what's going on. In a similar way, while I've got iron blocks here, you really don't need to use iron blocks. If you've got enough iron to go spare to make iron blocks, you don't necessarily need these farms. You can use any solid block in place of these iron blocks. That's true for all the designs I've got in this video. The final design I've got here is either melons or pumpkins. Now, I love this farm. As a micro farm, it's really efficient, really fast, and doesn't take very much redstone at all. One observer, one piston, and one single redstone dot. Now, what you'll need for this design is all here in this chest. Now, you'll also need a hoe in there to till some of this dirt into farmland. Now, these two bits of farmland here, these two bits of farmland are not actually necessary. However, they do speed up the rates for a relatively cheap cost. So I think it's definitely worth it. Let's see this farm in action. It can be a little bit slow, so you might have to give it some time or speed it up even more. There we go. Maybe that's a bit over the top. But you get the idea. The pumpkin stem grows to the left. The observer detects that change, at which point the piston breaks it and puts it in the hopper. Now this hopper will pick them all up. It just didn't on this case because of the sheer amount of pumpkins that are coming up at once, because I set it too fast. In your world, this will work perfectly. So there we go. 8 different farms that you can easily make in your Minecraft survival world. I should point out all of these farms are built in the snapshot 20W51A, but hopefully none of these will break for the full release of Minecraft 1.17. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to drop it a like. If you really loved it, then be sure to subscribe and check out some of the other videos on this channel. Until next time, thanks for coming, and I'll see you soon.